Well, we'll stay tuned and see what happens, but I know we're all going to be tuned in this Wednesday. I can't believe this is real, but boy, what a crazy week this was last week. We saw on Monday, Vince McMahon responded to that lawsuit from January, and boy, he overshared. And he was using the MLW attorney who just beat WWE. And
That's fascinating, right? That's
and he sold another $100 million worth of stock. And then Punk went on Ariel Helwani and just burned it down and did one crazy promo after another. I mean, just spilling the tea, as the kids would say. Fast forward, kind of a big night for wrestling on Friday night with a big SmackDown and then the Hall of Fame where Paul Heyman took his rightful spot. Great, fabulous speech there. But then 2 nights of WrestleMania, and somewhere lost in all of that was the fact that Collision was actually taped right after Dynamite on Wednesday. And it aired right after Alabama got the shit beat out of them in the Final Four on Saturday night. So it started at 11:30 Eastern. But more than halfway through the show, so well past 12:30 Eastern, we're in the middle of the night now. It sounded like a pickup that Shivani would have recorded, meaning it wouldn't have been something I would guess that was recorded on Wednesday. I think it would have been done in post just based on the way it sounded. Shivani announced that this coming Wednesday, Matthew and Nicholas, the Young Bucks, are going to present the backstage footage from All In London, and they're going to discuss it for the first time. Now, this footage would not be the quote unquote brawl out footage from Chicago the year prior. This would be last year where he famously got into it with Jungle Boy Jack Perry. And then there was some sort of a skirmish and a pull apart. Punk was on the first match of the pay-per-view. Perry was finishing up the last match on the pre-show. That's where the interaction happened. And I heard that week that it was filmed, that it was recorded, that AEW had gotten the footage from Wembley Stadium. And I thought to myself, if this footage is as bad as they think it is, or as they say it is, where people reviewed it and then made the decision, allegedly, Punk's got to go. If they were getting any backlash, the thing to do would be to show it. That's the way I felt in like early September. Here we are now. Punk doesn't work there. Punk works for another company. He's already gotten injured in that company. He's on the sidelines for a while. He's not even a major participant in WrestleMania this weekend. And still, we're going to see this. And I can't help but think, is this in response to Cody's promo? Meltzer would say, my gut was bad idea. But when we see it, whatever. After Punk did the interview, I obviously contacted many, many people in the company. And the general thing was, we're moving past that. We don't want to deal with it. Some of that's true and some of it's not true, but whatever, we got to move forward. But Tony's the boss and Tony never said that. I'll presume this airing is because there's proof that what Punk said wasn't true. And that's sort of the logical leap I made last week with you, Eric, that if Punk is saying, here's what happened, if there's anything that can be refuted with that video evidence, we knew AEW had it. And now since we've recorded it, they've decided they're going to release it. And everyone, as they're reporting this, I shouldn't say everyone, Alvarez, I believe, and Dave Meltzer are both saying this is not a bait and switch. They are going to show it. It almost feels like the curtain call where we heard about it, but we weren't supposed to see it. And then when they showed it on WWE TV and made it part of the story, I liked it. But I am curious, where is this story going since Punk is gone? I assume Jungle Boy is about to be back on the show, and this is the way they bring him back. That's the only thing I can think that makes sense out of this, Eric.
That doesn't make sense, though. I mean, I know what you're saying. It's the only thing that you can think of that seems like perhaps there was a thought process put into it. I think you're giving them too much credit. This is an emotional reaction that has absolutely no upside. Think about it. If the footage, and I'm not, I'm not real knowledgeable of this situation, right? But if the footage that we're going to see in any way, especially with the narrative that's coming from the Bucks, because they're going to have the ability to spin and add color to what we're going to see. If security footage typically isn't great footage, so there's going to be, and you're not going to hear the audio, most likely. You're not going to hear audio that goes along with the footage. So that's where the narrative comes in. But let's just say, for example, for sake of argument, this footage puts Punk in a bad light and puts Jungle Boy Jack Perry in a good light. Whatever this fucking name is, this kid. I can't believe they're spending any time on this guy. But let's just say it puts Punk in a bad light. So what? What does that do for anybody?
Right.
It does nothing. Or what if it's ambiguous? What if you see it and other than the commentary that you're going to get from the Bucks, you can't really decide for yourself one way or the other? What does it get you? Same thing. Or what if people look at it and go, well, this is all bullshit. I can't believe that Punk got fired over that. What does that get you? Nothing. There's no upside here. There's nothing that's going to happen that's positive. You're living in the past and reliving an incident that is a reflection of your horrible leadership and lack of management, Tony. You created that backstage environment by not being a leader, by not having management in place, by allowing this kind of thing to go on, because this isn't like the first and only time. It's just, I don't know. It's the most bizarre thing. I don't know that, I've said as hard as I can be on AEW, when I point out their lack of storytelling ability or lack of ability to even format a television show, just fundamental shit. I talk about those things all the time. In the back of my mind, I'm hoping that eventually somebody's going to go, okay, let's just try what he says. Let's just put a little more emphasis on story. Let's go buy a book and read about what it takes to build a great story and see if we can do it. I'm hoping that a light bulb is going to go off in somebody's head and they're going to, maybe we can, I got an idea. Let's try this. Because what we're doing here at AEW is not working. You're not only not growing your audience, you can't hold on to the one you started out with. They're leaving in droves. We had on Wise Choices, Ant Evans, YouTube expert, guy that built the UFC's YouTube channel, as well as others, knows this shit. We talked about where AEW is on YouTube and where it's been over the last 6 months. We know where it's been. It's been falling off a fucking cliff. So Dave Meltzer likes to say, well, you can't judge by ratings, and the company's way more successful than the ratings reflect because, fewer people are watching television. No shit, Sherlock. That's been a conversation that's been going on in the television industry for, I don't know, 12 years or more. It's not news, Dave. You don't have to study anything, Dave. It's right there in your fucking face. But guess what? Even if that was the excuse that people want to buy into, because when it comes to AEW, a lot of people want to buy into excuses and spin and ridiculous ways of doing math. But even if you wanted to believe it's true and, those ratings are going down because fewer people are watching television. Okay, well, what about YouTube? Is that a dying medium, Dave? Is it an outlier for some reason? It's not. It's just another indicator like live ticket sales. AEW is having a hard time selling 3,500 tickets for Dynamite. I mean, come on. It's impossible for me to think of ways that they can do things more incorrectly and miss the mark any more than they already have. But they keep coming up with the shit. Like, I don't know, let's show footage from the security cam at Wembley that happened, what? Is that 6 months ago? 5 years ago? However long ago that was? Who cares? It's history. And all it's going to do is make you look bad. The question is, how bad is it going to look in how many different ways? It's just bizarro to me, man. bizarre.
Well, we're going to
Well,
talk about it. I'm sure later this week we're going to be talking about it, but
what do you
it is.
think? What do you think, Connor? Do you think I'm wrong? Am I overreacting?
I don't see the upside.
Hmm.
I mean, it feels like an on your heels move. I saw somebody say, and I know you're going to get hot when I say this, but I saw somebody say this feels like a WCW move. And let me extrapolate what I think that meant. What I think the poster was intending. There was a time where the WWF was on their heels and WCW was kicking their ass so royally. I mean, you couldn't tell which way was up. And then fast forward, when that momentum turned, it turned quickly and kind of hard. And there was a time where when that momentum turned, it just felt like almost nothing WCW could do could gain any ground back. And I think that is where this move sort of
I would
feels
agree. I would agree with that.
it's
That is an accurate observation on the poster's part, if that was the intent or the meaning, and certainly on your analysis of it, because it was true. There was a time when I felt like we could do no wrong,
yes.
absolutely do no wrong. And before long, there was a point where we felt like we could absolutely do no right. Once you lose momentum, you've heard me say it a million times. Creating momentum is a lot easier than maintaining it. Maintaining momentum is a real challenge. Very, very difficult. And then once you feel that momentum slip through your fingers and you know it, you can feel it in the marrow of your bones, in your core muscles. You can feel it. And then you feel like, fuck, there's nothing I can do to turn this around. Good observation.
I don't want that to be the case. I am pulling for AEW. I think wrestling is a better place with AEW, but I gotta think, I gotta hope, I gotta cross my fingers. This is all some way to reintroduce Jack Perry and leverage something that really happened to add to his credibility and his presentation. And interestingly enough, Jack Perry's wrestling here in America this Friday night. It's the Windy City Riot. There's only about 400 tickets still available. This is a New Japan show. It's a big deal for New Japan to be here in America. And Jack Perry's on the card. So we'll see what happens.